Some big news this week. We've had some significant breakthroughs in terms of the treatment of COVID restrictions on the hospitality industry and business in general. The AHA has worked tirelessly, working with both South Australian Police Force and SA Health and the Premier, when necessary, to try and get some sense of common sense, if you like, as to how we should be treating the COVID virus and the impact on hospitality in particular. As you know, that from the March 23rd, just over 12 months ago, every venue across Australia was shut down, from the Pacific Ocean to the Indian Ocean and everything in between. Devastating. We didn't know how long it would go for. We were shut for nearly 10 weeks, and then there's been this slow, painful transition back. In South Australia, we had that appalling lockdown for 3 days. This was a 6-day lockdown in November, the Parafield cluster, planned for 6 days. After 1.5 days, the police commissioner announced, maybe we don't need to go that long, but they still made it 3 days. We engaged the South Australian Centre of Economic Studies, who came out and told us what we already knew, what you already knew. That cost hotels in the state over $100 million. The resulting fear in the community led to a massive cancellation of end-of-year functions, weddings, get-togethers, a whole range of corporate gatherings. The Centre of Economic Studies at the University of Adelaide said that had the impact, the cancellations, of losing 12,500 jobs for the month of December. Extraordinary. Enormously high price hospitality and hotels have had to pay. Good news is our representation, our forceful representation to SA Health and SAPOL, South Australian Police in particular, has borne fruit last week with the announcement by Grant Stevens, the Police Commissioner, that from Wednesday, the 31st of March, hospitality and business generally goes from 1 in 2 or 50% to 3 in 4 square metres. That's 75%. So for every 100, you'll be allowed 75. So if you've got a 400 capacity under the 3 in 4 rule, then you'll be allowed 300. A significant step forward. The other great winner, not for everyone perhaps, but for those who love dancing, dancing has been relieved of all those nonsense restrictions. You might recall that we finally got dancing accepted, but if you had 200, everyone could dance. If you had 201, up to 1,000, you could only have 50 in a designated dance floor. All out the door. Up to 1,000 people attending, everyone can dance. The restrictions are lifted completely. Now, in comparison to other states, we've done extraordinarily well. Only one other state has 75% capacity, and that's WA. But guess what? There's a condition that applies only if everyone's seated. So we are really, really pleased with this decision, and we've expressed that to the Police Commissioner because he drove it. He overrode SA Health advice to the contrary. Our next stage, we want a roadmap to get back to 100%. We're going into winter. All the festivities of Mad March have gone. We've still got closed international borders. We need some relief. And for those that specialise in it, we're also targeting buffets and smorgasbords. There's a nonsense about all of that, and we can't see that if you can have tens of thousands of people at the footy eating pies and chips next to each other, why can't you return to a simple thing like smorgasbords? That's high on the agenda, but at the moment you should all be very, very pleased with going forward. The 75% for some of you should be a great game changer. For most of you, it's an opportunity to get back to something approaching viability. All the best, and thanks for hanging in there with us.